moment of silence for Police Week, okay? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And just a moment of silence for Law Enforcement Week. Stay standing. Thank you very much. Please be seated.
Councilmember Totino?
Present.
Supervisor Alvar?
Here.
Councilmember Foreman?
Here.
Councilmember Rye?
Here. Just an adoption of agenda. I'll just make a motion to make one change. Item number 12 from consent to regular resolutions. Presented as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
John, all in favor?
Aye.
Next up is acceptance of minutes. Town Board regular meeting April 17th and May 1st are presented as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next up is introduction of new employees. Jason Maeda, our HR director, has a big crew here tonight. The floor is yours, Mr. Director.
Sorry. All right. Good evening, Supervisor and members of the Town Board. I'm Jason Maeda, Recreation Director for the Town of Fishkill. Summer's right around the corner, and our rec team has been working diligently to get all the summer programs up and running. Our Fishkill Fun Camp has been a cornerstone program for our community for many years, providing an invaluable service to parents in need of reliable daycare during the summer months. Beyond its role as a convenient child care solution, our summer camp plays a crucial role in the development of children, offering a structured yet fun-filled schedule that encourages social interaction, physical activity, and creative expression. None of this is possible without a strong team of camp leadership and counselors to serve as caretakers, mentors, role models, and friends to our campers. Tonight, I'm excited to present some of those members of our camp team that will continue our tradition this summer season, offering a safe and fun place for our campers to be. So, I'll call you out your name, I'll call you up one by one, and you can come up and line up. All right, and this is alphabetical order, so no other special order. Kaylin Brenner is a camp counselor. Keith Cowman, another camp counselor. We have a new camp director this year. She's been a member of our camp program as a counselor and a leadership role over the years, but she's now our new camp director, Gianna DeNivo. Savannah Cush, camp counselor. Cheyenne Cush, camp counselor. One of our young future counselors in development as a CIT, counselor in training, Daniel Lopez. Another counselor, Olivia Pampalone. Another counselor, Kiara Rodriguez. Another counselor in training for us this year will be Leah Scheider. Our new performing arts director this year will be Ryan Schaefer. And last but not least, it's here for us this evening, we have Ajalyn Vargas, counselor. And I just want to point out, this is not the entire team. There were some that couldn't make it tonight because they're either still away at school or have school functions tonight, but we do have others. And we still have positions to be filled as well. So we do have some more coming, hopefully at the next board meeting. We'll have some more for you. So if anybody's interested, listening at home, go to fishkillrecreation.com, fill out an application form, because we are looking to fill some more spots. And I guess, ladies and gentlemen, this is a strong portion of our camp team this summer. We're looking forward to another great year, and we've got another really strong team to make it happen this year. So we're excited about it.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Jason, you didn't tell them that they have to stay for the rest of the meeting?
Yeah.
And take notes.
Yeah.
There will be a quiz.
Yeah. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay. The highway superintendent had 2 candidates also, but they're in college. We hired them also last year, so I just wanted to let the board members know what was going on with those 2 guys, okay?
Great.
All right, next up is privilege of the floor for general town items. Anybody has anything about town-wide items, this is the opportunity to have your say. Hello.
Hello, how are you, Beth?
Good.
I'm here to speak about, that Guardian sold to Prime Storage, so right now they only have banners up,
Yep.
but they're going to have lights up
And I've spoken to Joel about it to make sure you're satisfied.
because they're still shining in they've never been fixed, ever, Ozzy.
Were you talking about the signs on the building or the lights inside the building?
The lights inside of the building and the lights outside of the building.
Okay.
That were never properly placed downward. So you came, you saw it.
I'm sorry.
light
I was
shining?
I was under the impression it was the signs, not inside the building.
So anyway, my
Okay.
living room is lit up completely with the blinds and the curtains closed. So I'd really appreciate it if somebody could remedy this before they come in with their 2-word sign and a key that's going to go up in the same. And there's a film on the window right below the first banner on the left-hand side as you're looking that completely blocks out the light. It's not on the other windows. There are films on the other windows, but they're very, very, very thin, and the light still illuminates straight through them.
So is there one film that's good?
Yeah, there's one film that's perfect. No light comes out at all.
So if the film was across that area, you'd be satisfied with that?
If they put that film on the rest of the windows, it'll be perfect.
Okay.
But the light still shines down.
But
It's-
there's no sign
The
there.
thing is, I'm kind of exasperated because I went to every single meeting and stood right next to Frank Rettel, and he promised me the world. Of course, it's not his problem anymore, but it's my problem because of where I am.
Understood.
And, I went to every meeting except for one, and I was away, and I sent an email, and Mr. Cantor read it for me into the minutes. So here I am, still. And another thing, I asked for a speed sign in that area because nobody does 40 at all. It took me 8 minutes to get out of my driveway the other day. It should never take me 8 minutes because the cars are coming so fast, I have to really wait and judge to get out of there. So on Fishkill Avenue is, as soon as you get past Industrial Arts, whatever that is, and District Social, there's a sign, a speed sign. And it looks like a street sign. It has the miles per hour on it.
Is that the recent one that was put up within 6 months? The state added a 40-mile-an-hour sign there within 6 months. Is that sign relatively new? The 40-mile-an-hour sign?
You're talking about the electronic one?
I'm talking about the one that's on, right past District Social. It's a regular street sign. It looks like a regular street sign. It's solar operated.
Okay.
And they, it takes both sides of the street, coming this way and going that way. It clocks the speed. So I asked And it was winter when I asked, and they said they don't put the police chief said that they don't put the signs up then because of the plows, and I understand that completely. But I don't know if you could maybe slide a officer on the side of the building?
Yes, we
or,
can.
you know,
Joe?
something
That'd
like
be
that.
part two.
To at least try to slow them down, because it's like the Indy 500 going by my house every day.
I live less than 100 feet from you.
You know?
I live in the corner of Haskin.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's it.
Okay, we'll work on both of those.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Anybody else?
Kenya Gadsden. Good evening, everyone. I'm here to read on behalf of Louise Daniele. So at the end of the last meeting under new and old business, Councilmember Foreman suggested, quote, in the spirit of political correctness, that he asked for a resolution that town parks should not be rented to political parties for their events, including the rec center. He further stated when the town rents the park to a candidate or political party, it makes it look like the town is endorsing a political party or candidate. That would actually be better stated as, quote, discrimination against certain groups of people, which is illegal, end quote. Councilmember Foreman has in the past refused to vote for an active community member to add her to the zoning board because he did not like a post she made on social media. He showed he doesn't believe legal residents have a right to their First Amendment right to free speech. I hope he will not vote against anyone in the future who chooses to exercise their constitutional rights, and he will not bring up any future suggestions to discriminate against any specific groups of people. The discussion number 9363 about the chief using our town police vehicle assigned to him to drive to his new police chief job seemed to be lacking more information. It did not state that he had taken a position as the part-time police chief in the village of Millbrook. I read that online in a news article. I was looking for a memo or email that he should have sent to the police commission advising them that he has taken this new position. I was also wondering if any of the police commission members knew that he took this position that has been in the works for months. If they did, they should have informed the entire police commission. By not doing that, it continues to show the political connection between certain board members and the chief and a lack of transparency that the residents deserve. The board and residents have a right to know if he expects to work 2 part-time police chief jobs and earn more than the $35,000 when he worked 20 hours here and was hired to work 15 hours there for $40 an hour, which is slightly over $31,000. $35,000 is the legal limit of earnings he can make as a retiree. If he has thought of suspending his retirement to do so, if that is even possible, again, the police commission should have been advised so they can discuss if they feel keeping the chief is in the best interest of our town. Decide, okay. If he has already moved on and has not completed projects that should have been done already, 5 years accreditation is still not done, and he refuses to let the board hire a qualified person to wrap it up. Also, the police cameras project that he bragged about getting them, then blamed someone else when they didn't get here. I have more to say, but I'll wait to see what the board has to say about it all. The vehicle discussion seems to be logical that he is not, capital letters, allowed to use our town police vehicle assigned to him to come or go to his second job as a police chief in another municipality. We are still paying high premiums for an accident involving a town employee from years ago. The town should not be put at risk for any lawsuits if any accidents or incidents occurred in those travels. It would also be a bit hypocritical to think that he could drive that vehicle for any duties at the other police department when he didn't allow a police officer to escort an employee to a bank in a town next to ours for town business. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else? We're good? Okay. Next up is liaison member reports. Brian, you can go first.
I went to the Verplank Garden Club plant sale this past weekend, and simultaneously to the Dutchess Junction Fire Department, where you picked up plants that you ordered earlier is that not working well? Okay. So, anyway, I went to 2 plant sales, and I was very pleased. Our community, we're supporting our community, one being Verplank and the other being Dutchess Junction. I was very proud to do that. Also attended the Cinco de Mayo luncheon that was held at the rec center. Once again, a great job. We always talk about Jason and his staff, but specifically, let's just say Lauren and Marianne work extremely hard along with Jason and pull off a great event every time there is one. And my hat is off to them, and that's it.
Thank you. John?
Okay. Hello, everybody. Tuesday, May 7th, I attended the 11th Annual Dutchess County Prayer Breakfast with Councilman Rye. That was up at the Grandview in Poughkeepsie. Later that day, I also attended the Cinco de Mayo lunch with the seniors at the rec center. And big thanks to Jason Mayetta and Marianne Von Egypt, along with the workers, especially the volunteers who make these days very special for our seniors. Wednesday, May 8th to Friday, May 10th, I attended the PERMA conference up in Lake George. PERMA is our workers' comp carrier. So a couple topics that we spoke about. One was safety committees, which is right up our alley, as the supervisor is working on recreating a safety committee for this town. Speaking to other town board members from around the state, a common struggle seems to be A, recruiting new employees, and B, keeping the employees that we have. It seemed like 50 years ago, the private sector always paid more, and the public sector always had the better benefits with retirement. Over the years, the public sector seemed to have caught up with the private sector, and in some cases, have surpassed the private sector in salary. Which brings us to where we are today, post-COVID. Employees prefer to work from home. Private sector is having a difficult time getting people back to the office. The challenge to attract candidates to work for our town exists here today. Hiring new employees and keeping our employees continue to be a challenge, not just in Fishkill, but in Dutchess County and throughout the state of New York. And the last piece is on Saturday night, May 11th, I attended the Hudson Valley Hoedown, which was held at the Lucky Orphans Horse Rescue in Dover Plains. Fundraiser was for benefiting the Chamber Foundation. That's all I have.
Thank you, John.
Yep.
Right.
Good evening. I would just like to offer a couple of quick updates on stuff that's going on at the state level. First, I'm really happy to report that this week the State Senate has adopted a package of legislation that is designed to strengthen laws to protect the victims of domestic and sexual violence, to amend our criminal code to prosecute these crimes more effectively, and to make resources more accessible to survivors to get them on the path to recovery faster. So that is some excellent news coming out of the state, as is news of a package of environmental protections, which will do more to preserve our forested areas and our waterways by banning chemicals like PFAS from being used in certain areas and prohibiting the use of state forest lands for the purposes of oil, natural gas production, any other type of energy production on those protected state forest lands. So those are two really good things that have been accomplished at the state level. I do just want to also mention that on Monday I had a nice conversation with our Assemblyman A.J. Bepan, a friend of mine, who wanted to let me know that Blodgett Library here in Fishkill will be receiving $20,000 of bullet aid funding, which he was able to secure through the state process for bullet aid, which is great. Our local public libraries have always been a cornerstone of our communities. It is especially important to remember that now, in an era where entertainment is a lot more accessible in the home, where it's often easier to put kids in front of a tablet or in front of a television screen but there really is no art form quite like a child's imagination. Bringing them down to your local public library is a great way to, one, encourage them to read and foster their creativity, but also to help foster a curious mind. Whether they're interested in reading a novel or a picture book or nonfiction, that type of learning through reading and holding a book in your hands, it's unlike any other type of learning that a person can experience. So to see that Blodgett is receiving this funding to continue the excellent work and programming that they do is wonderful, and I'd like to thank Assemblyman Bepan for securing that for us. I don't want to reiterate too much of what was said, but I would just like to add on another note for the Verplank Garden Club. They obviously had a fantastically successful Mother's Day plant sale, as is the case every year. But I do just want to highlight for those who may not be aware of just how active and involved the Garden Club members are. If you ever visit Town Hall and you see the lovely plantings in the courtyard area, the atrium there, those are maintained by members of the Garden Club. There are a number of planting beds here at the Town Hall campus that are also maintained by the Garden Club, including the 9/11 Memorial plantings and the wonderful pollinator gardens, which with Supervisor Albra's vision were launched a few years ago. They've also tended to the plantings around the Daniel Nimham statue. So in addition to being gardeners and plant lovers who keep their own gardens looking lovely and have choice selections available to sell to people who are interested in gardening themselves, they do so much to enhance the beauty of our town and public spaces that people occupy. So I did just want to give a big tip of the cap to them, as well as joining in thanking everyone at the Rec Department for a fantastic Cinco de Mayo celebration. I do just want to flag probably one of the most ambitious senior trips that I'm aware of is happening next month. They will be going to Bermuda.
Wow.
So there is more information available on that from the Rec Department page. And I do just want to, again, tip a cap to everyone over there. That's all that I have. Looking forward to a great meeting.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to follow up with Ms. Gaston about the chief. We did get an email, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, that he was looking to accept another police position. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Yes.
It didn't identify the chief position. Last couple of days, I've been trying to gather information on how he's going to, do both jobs, how he's going to be paid, and he's not being cooperative with that request. So yesterday, I did a Freedom of Information request to the Village of Millbrook to gather that information. This is something that we should discuss later, maybe in executive session or some other time.
Executive would be appropriate,
Okay.
either tonight or in the future.
We'll see how quick this meeting goes.
Right.
But we're trying to get information. We can't get it. So there you have it.
Supervisor, before we move on, if I
Hold
could
on, hold
just...
on. Yes, he talked first.
Yeah. I mean, I'm reading the emails as well. I know that there was an explanation. I know that I would imagine with an easy request, there'll be more information provided. But to answer the question on the email sent to all of us, to the police commission, in use of my assigned town of Fishkill Police Chief take-home vehicle, I can easily clarify. I use my assigned vehicle to commute back and forth to work and/or to attend official town of Fishkill police business only. I have not used the vehicle in a personal manner, nor would I use it to commute to any other place of employment. So
You did send that too, yes.
Good.
Greg?
I did just want to add, it was one thing that slipped my mind while I was giving my member report. I do just want to give another big tip of the cap to our Highway Department and Parks Department. They have been hard at work in our parks doing repaving. If you go over to Gearing Park now, you'll see basketball court, tennis court, pickleball court, and parking lot are all being very mightily attended to by our great crews, and we're looking forward to seeing those projects completed. I do just want to, give a salute to Carmine and his team over there, Brandon, Brian, the grounds guys who have been working, and the highway guys who have been helping with the pouring and all of that. It's been great to see that work and that investment. Making our parks a place that people can and want to go, and where we can hold really high-level programming for youth, for adults, for the community at large. Is fantastic, and so just excellent work. Keep it up, and we can't wait to celebrate when it's open.
No, very good. It's, the citizens of Fishkill, you're watching a dramatic shift of how the town is being run, and special interests don't run the town no more, and I've said this thousands of times, and last 4 years, 5 years, we've been talking a lot, changing laws, rules, comprehensive plans, stuff that you really didn't see. Drive through the town of Fishkill tomorrow when the weather's nice. You'll see banners, hometown hero banners that were started by Councilwoman Daniele last year. We added another 119 this year, and my assistant, Joe Perone, Kevin from Highway, Highway Superintendent Estevan, Angel, and John Testerman, and the police officers doing a great job of getting those things up. So when you're driving around, stop in Doug Phillips Park with all this work getting done, Aguirre Park. You're seeing all this good stuff actually come into fruition. Today, I was notified that the interconnection connecting the Brickerhoff and the Merritt Park Water District, the toughest phase of this former $5.6 million plan, I got it down to about $1.2 million with no cost to taxpayers. They drilled underneath the creek in front of Doug Phillips Park, and that was pretty much eventless. So that means that's good news, and hopefully we come under budget with that. So there's a tremendous amount of work in the town of Fishkill to benefit the citizens of Fishkill, and I thank everybody, all our employees, my board members, for letting that happen. So with that, we'll do a presentation with Mr. Harkins. Mr. Harkins? Mr. Harkins is our assessor.
Good evening. I am the assessor. I'm also run the Affordable Housing Department. That's really what this presentation is about. Most people don't know that that's what I do, or that we actually have an affordable housing program, but it was started. The town board asked me for some background on the program, and I had sent an email with all the information that I had put into it. But in the early 2000s, the town wanted to have affordable housing for residents. The real estate market at the time obviously was going up dramatically, like it is now, and they wanted to try to create affordable housing. So some background is they basically said to developers, anybody developing a multifamily property with more than 10 units is required to provide affordable housing or to buy out their responsibility. And they would get the density bonuses for making this affordable housing. So currently, we have 20 affordable housing units in Avionis, we have 20 in the Regency, and we have 1 available affording housing unit in the Woods. There are 10 rental, those are all ownership programs where the people purchase the units and they own them. We have 10 affordable units in Rivercrest, but since Rivercrest was purchased by Jehovah's Witnesses, it's not that they're not fulfilling it, it's not required to provide it because under their guise, the people who live there would qualify for the program. But if they were ever to sell it off ever, we would get those 10 rental units back. Really, the rental program, in my view, works a lot better than the ownership program, but that's what we're stuck with, so that's what we're working on. So right now, there's in the affordable housing law, there's a formula for determining the value of the affordable housing units. It's based on the median income for Dutchess County. It's kind of a punitive formula to try to keep the values low on purpose. So I tell most people when they purchase a unit, really when you go to sell this unit in X amount of years, you'll probably sell it for the exact same amount of money that you're purchasing it for. But really, it's meant to be affordable housing. You get into the housing at a discounted rate. You pay discounted taxes because the assessments are low because they're value restricted units. And then when you go to sell it, you basically sell it off for what you paid. And obviously to own the property, you have to meet the town's requirements for income-wise for affordable housing. Again, that's also based on the median income for Dutchess County, and that's a certain percentage of your income. And if it's one person unit, it's a certain number. If it's 2 people, it's another number, 3, and so on. And then we have a formula where we take your actual income and then a certain percentage of your actual assets, and we add those together to see if you qualify income-wise. Right now, I've got about 12 actually applicants in the list waiting to buy a unit. So I get calls all the time from people asking about the program.
Christian, 12 on the waiting list?
I have a list of about 12 people right now.
Okay.
So it's a strange situation because a lot of times I'll call, like, the list, people have been on that list for 2 or 3 or 4 years. So sometimes when I call them, they've already made other housing arrangements, so they're no longer interested. But we only have so many units, so by the time we get to them on the list, it's not right away.
Thank you.
So,
And despite the Jehovah Witnesses purchasing of that property, we still have 203 units total?
yes, well, if you add in the, I was going to get to that point next. There are other affordable housing opportunities in the town that are not part of my program. Because if you have the views at Rocky Glen, which is right up the
All right,
street.
so what do we control in the affordable housing unit in the town of Fishkill? How many units right now altogether?
We control 41.
41?
Right.
And then up to townwide, how much?
There's 203 in the town,
Total,
total.
including this 41?
Yes,
Okay.
but those are the views at Rocky Glen
Got
and
it.
the horizons of Fishkill.
Where are
Those
we in comparison with other municipalities with this?
Well, I'm the assessor for Wappingers, and we don't have any affordable housing there. So I only know of one unit that was put in the village. They ended up getting special financing, and so basically out of the 48 units or so they built there, there was one unit that was affordable. It's, I believe it's administered through Hudson Housing. So other towns, I know East Fishkill has built some affordable housing. I don't know about what other towns are providing, and I was always trying to find some type of guideline, so either for a federal government guideline or something that says how much affordable housing should be provided. But I could never find any rule of thumb or any type of guideline that says you should be providing X amount of units for affordable housing.
So
So-
this 41 town controlled, is that all, is that apartments or is that owned?
Yes, those are all owned.
So we have no apartments that we
We have
deal
no
with?
rentals at this point in time. We do have 10 in the Rivercrest. If that ever got sold off to a private entity, they'd come back.
How many, you said 20 of those?
There were 20. They bought back 10 of them, so now they're down to 10.
10, so they
Right.
bought 10 in Rivercrest.
You said East Fishkill built some,
I believe if you across,
let me just clarify, meaning not the town, but they had a builder come in and they,
yes, there is some affordable housing in East Fishkill. I don't think it's run by the town.
No.
So maybe I misspoke there. I didn't mean East Fishkill purchased it. I meant they built some
Gotcha.
in their town.
So
So-
somebody buys a house in 2015 for 300,000, 2030, they have to sell it for the same price?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, again, the formula that was created, it's turned out to be relatively punitive on value. So you can sell it for either what the formula says the unit's worth or for what you paid for it, whichever one is higher. So, and usually at this point in time, most people bought the units, 8, 9, 10, original sales prices, and those are the higher number at this point in time.
All right, I
So-
apologize. They bought the property for a certain price, 10 years later, they're moving out,
They're pretty much selling it for the same price.
same price. Okay.
Yes. So, and it's not 300, it's usually about $150,000.
But it's
So-
the same price, whatever.
It's usually the same
is.
price, right. And that's kind of the whole mantra with the affordable housing. It's not a huge money-making opportunity.
Is this, can you let somebody inherit your property, or once they're gone, that's it?
If you were to pass away, they would need to sell the property to someone else who would qualify.
So they can't, their sibling or anything can't get the property?
No,
Okay.
because they wouldn't unless if they came to me and they were to qualify, I guess we could maybe talk about it at that point in time.
But that's not the case?
So usually that's not the case. Usually the children who take the property, they have too much income, and they wouldn't qualify.
Understood.
So, and most of the units are one bedrooms, so the children aren't living with them. So there are a few twos, but most of the times they're one bedroom units.
You talk about the resale or the sale value of a house for a person who's owning an affordable unit being about the same as what they paid for it in the first place, and that obviously is a limit in terms of being able to get or extract money out of that in terms of an appreciating investment over time. But in context, the affordable housing program isn't really intended so that people make money on real estate. It's intended so that people have a place to live that they can afford.
Correct. And if you look at some of the unit prices, like in the Regency, that's a relatively high-end condo, some of those units are going for close to $500,000. You can buy a unit in there in this affordable program for $150,000. So it's you get all the same benefits of ownership. You get to, use the pool, use the complex, live in the complex. You just live in an affordable unit. so.
Got it. Any questions?
That would be an amazing price. But I just, I know that Ozzy, you and I have talked about this, and I guess we can talk about it a little bit more at another time, but I don't know how we could expand this at this particular juncture. I just don't.
So we currently have 3 more units in the Regency, correct?
Yes, and those units, actually, I received the COs for those today.
Okay.
So I don't know what Toll plans on doing.
Well,
I did-
we had a big problem with Toll Brothers in Fishkill Woods.
Mm-hmm.
There was a significant out of warranty work, and Toll Brothers was very cooperative with us. They took care of our over probably 200 residents that live in that complex, and in return, we would consider buying those 3 units out.
Okay,
So Toll Brothers did the right thing.
okay.
So-
I know there's been talk, I just didn't
Yes.
know where we were with it. We've been talking about it for 2-3 years now, so.
Yes. So our problem is we're going to probably have about 1.2 million parked in this account, and we got to figure out what we're going to do with it.
Right. So we have an affordable housing trust fund that's very well funded, but we don't
Yes.
have any current plans to use the money.
And we got to figure that
So-
out.
Right.
Do you have any
Right.
suggestions?
Well, I don't think the town owning affordable housing would be a good idea, because then now you're gonna have housing that people live in that you need now administer. That's very difficult to do.
Understood.
Yeah.
We're not going to do
Seems
that.
that
We can't get
required
into
most
that
of the
business. Yeah.
We're not going to do that.
Yeah.
From your perspective, just capitalize on, 1.2 million, you can do a lot, and we talked about this as far as a grant writer. And we could hire and I don't know what could ever come of it, but at least it's a way to investigate what we can do in the town better, more with that kind of revenue, to hire someone to do some research. Maybe we're
Right.
missing the boat on something creative, maybe, have you heard of anybody utilizing grant writers in this program anywhere, or?
Not that I know. So I'm sure there's grants out there for affordable housing. It's a big buzzword, obviously, especially
Yeah.
now. So, maybe if we were to partner with some type of nonprofit housing corporation, and then we could, you pool our funds together to build some type of affordable housing that they would administer and run. So, and it would be in Fishkill and benefit the Fishkill citizens.
I think there's a lot of.
So, but there's a lot of ways to go with it, so.
Okay.
But I always, it's an ownership program. In my view, the rental program works better.
Yeah, I like that.
So the ownership program is cumbersome. I have to administer it. It's doable, but it's not necessarily the best way to go.
So how many?
Whereas rental programs can be administered by the property management.
Well, the ones that we had, the other 2 projects that we have, they administer their own affordable housing.
That would, I
So-
think, if we are talking about needing to expand capacity in the future, that might be the avenue to go, whereas it doesn't create any additional work from the town's perspective, but it does increase the supply.
Right.
Provided, of course, that those developers and property management organizations are willing to abide by the proper procedures for that.
Right. A lot of it's usually based on funding. There is, not mortgage, but that you can get loans from certain federal agencies or state agencies, but then you have to provide certain amounts of affordable housing.
Yeah.
Or all affordable housing, you get very favorable lending terms.
I know there is a
So-
federal affordable income or a low-income housing tax credit
Right.
that developers and property managers can apply for.
Right.
I don't know exactly how the program functions, but I know that you can, over time, accumulate millions of dollars in write-offs, essentially, for developing
Right.
units that are designated, in perpetuity as affordable units.
So how many of these units flip a year?
Well, we have those 3 at Toll Brothers. I don't know what's going to happen with them, but there's actually 2 in Avionis right now that are on the market. So I've contacted the people on the list, the next person on the list, and I haven't heard back yet. So, but that one's actively on the market. Another lady contacted me and said she's ready to sell as well, but she needed about a month or 2 before she was ready to go.
And how much are these units?
So these units are the Avionis are the smallest units. Those units, again, based on the formula that we had back then, they're about $140,000 or $150,000. So, but they're 1-bedroom, 1-bath units,
It's a very nice development.
so.
So Brian, if you want to look something up,
Yeah.
we'll discuss give me a proposal for the grant writer. How much it's going to be, who you want to use.
Yeah, give me a little time on that, but I do want to look into that. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Harkins.
I just had one other thing, we're waiting on a resolution that we tabled,
Mm-hmm.
9139.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically establishing me as a director, because I don't think we ever really did that.
Okay.
And establishing the stipend for me.
Okay.
So-
What was the stipend? What was the
It gonna
proposed
be
stipend?
15,000.
Okay.
So that also encompasses last year's number, because we were going to do this in '23, and we didn't do it, so we said, well, instead of changing '23 budget, we'll add it to '24.
Okay.
But it is relatively budget neutral because it's coming out of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. So it
Understood.
doesn't affect anybody. It's already budgeted, basically.
Got it.
So,
Thank you, Christian.
all right, thank you.
Thank you for that memo.
All right. On to discussions. Discussion and review update on the town housing law. Any ideas? Table this for like 2 months or something? What are you guys
Sure.
thinking?
Yeah, well, we talking about the mother-daughter,
I'm
what we
getting,
talked about last,
I'm getting confused too. Do you remember where there's
Accessory apartments, I believe, wasn't it?
the accessory apartments.
accessory apartments?
I recall.
Okay. So this was either the accessory apartment inside the house or a standalone structure that meets within the zoning. So we're
That's
still
correct.
working on that?
I didn't know we were working on it. Did you want to have a draft on that?
I thought we were gonna make a local law on that.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna,
Well, all right,
if I'm
we'll get
remembering
started on it
correctly,
then. I
our
have not been
discussion, you were
working on
going
it.
to report back to us as to the specifics of what the adjustment to the law allows for in terms of our oversight.
Which we put on, I think, for the July meeting, though, didn't we?
That
is.
sounds
It's
right.
not-
Put down
possible.
a couple of different things for future meetings. I seem to recall that was for then. I'm certainly not prepared to talk about it tonight.
So you're working on the next July meeting for the accessory buildings?
There was yes, I
And we
believe that's
table it
it.
to, okay, so let's just table this one also to July. I'll deal with that. And then, next up, a discussion of local law regarding term limits. The town attorney reviewed a local law number 1, 2020, and confirmed that it was a properly completed, correct, Mr. Galvin?
That is correct.
Any questions on that?
No, I read it. It seems to be pretty much in order.
I do have one question.
Sure.
How does this term limit law apply to the supervisor?
It was in the memo. So, Mr. Galvin?
What do you mean, how does it apply to the supervisor? Applies to the supervisor like anybody else?
No, the supervisor is in his second term. So is this considered his first term?
For purposes of term limits, this recent election of the supervisor is the first one that counts against term limits. The prior one began prior to the law being enacted and therefore does not count.
It was in the memo.
Okay.
And if there's a 3-year term, what happens?
Any partial term does not count against term limits. So if you serve a 1-year partial term to fulfill an elected official's, it's only supervisor and board members, term, that doesn't count. If you serve a 3-year term for someone else, that doesn't count. If you are elected to a 4-year term, even if you were to resign prior to the end of the term, it would count because you were elected to a full 4-year term.
And the 2-year term Councilman Rye fulfilled does not count.
I'm sorry,
The 2-year term Councilman Rye took over for does not count.
that does not count,
That does
partial
not
term.
count.
Neither with this term, because it's only 3 years.
Our term now is 4 years.
That's right.
Yeah,
election.
the term
I'm confused.
after
I even
the
read
current
the-
term that we have been elected to.
I even read the
That
memo
will
and
be-
I'm still confused.
It would be, if the law doesn't get changed, it'll be a 3-year term.
Yes, yes. So whatever council, whatever year, the next one won't count for anybody. That's pretty much the gist of it.
Because it's a partial term.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that last year, there was a couple municipalities last year, one in Rockland, one in Westchester, where term limits came up, and it was litigated, and citizens asked about our term limit law. I'm very proud of passing that term limit law. I think it's very important, and I want to make sure we did it right, and Mr. Gaba confirmed that it was done right.
That
Yeah,
is correct.
I read the memo.
Good?
Very much.
All right. Next up, discussion of resolution to approve peddler's permit for Sunrun installation services. Everybody okay with that?
Sure.
Next up, discussion of resolution refunding of fee for building permit application, 9 Arbor Court. It's only $75. Anybody got a problem with that? Yeah. Okay.
That's fine.
Next up, number 5, resolution to enter an agreement with engineering services with MJ Engineering and Land Surveying, PC for water, study of Chia Party Place. That's going to be about $12K using ARPA money. Everybody okay with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I actually talked to, just real quickly, to the engineer company today to say, well, where is this water coming from? It's coming from Beacon.
Yep.
And the contract is for something like 500,000 gallons. They're only using 300,000, and adding on these extra homes is going to use just an additional 30, so they've got
Plenty of space.
plenty of room. So
That
this
is not
a
a
good
capacity
thing for them,
concern.
because they're having issues, and I'm glad we're doing it.
Yeah, it's this just all goes into, like I said earlier, we passed a lot of rules and regulations, water this, and this, and this. The next step is to get Chia Party Place, McGrath Boulevard area, get these studies done, and then we have aquifer protection law, water protection law, DWSP2 laws. It's in our comprehensive plan, and we've already got these plans done and make it a lot easier to apply for grants, because hooking into water is, unless we have any type of grant money. Beacon Hills was $5.6 million. We got a $3 million grant, and that's still costing the residents $350 to $400 a year just for water infrastructure. And if they didn't get the grant, it'd be closer to $800-900. So water is very expensive, and when we talk under new business with this downstate position paper, which I'm going to bring up, you'll understand the method of what I'm trying to do. So Chia Party's good?
I would say so.
Absolutely.
6, the modification of the rec fund for summer camp, everybody good?
Sure.
7, budget modification for the gym floor, they do that every couple of years, we're good?
Yeah.
Next up is resolution to amend the recreation fee schedule, everybody okay with that?
Yeah, I love this creation of the Alumni League.
You know what, I was going to ask what that was, and I forgot to ask.
Well, I read it, and it's for kids who've gone through the program playing basketball, and you get to the end of their age limit, and they're going off to college, and they're going, well, we're going to miss basketball around here. So he's creating this Alumni League for those kids that were in the program, can come back and play, I guess, in tournaments or whatever as they're in college. So it's really kind of cool.
I think that's a really good
What was the other
way
one?
of just making sure that people can still take advantage of the opportunities.
Okay, everybody's good with that. Next up, we're going to, resolution to amend the employee handbook. So what we're going to do, if there's an emergency in town hall, the employees are going to be directed to call the police immediately and streamline any type of emergency where there's no hesitation. Everybody okay with that?
Of course.
Yeah.
Number 10, discussion of amending the workplace violence prevention policy, kind of coincides with that. You okay with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Next up, discussion of resolution hires summer recreation staff. Everybody saw them today.
Yep.
Yes.
Next up is discussion on hire two seasonal laborers for Carmine. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
And then the discussion of the take-home car. Councilman Rye mentioned what was going on. Any other discussion on that?
I don't really have anything extra to add to that. You know, I look forward to a clarification as to how those two positions will be managed in terms of, you know, job performance and reliability. I would certainly like some assurances and perhaps some details laid out as to how the two can be managed at the same time. You know, I recognize that we have a lot of police officers, you know, at the part-time level who work for multiple agencies. That's quite normal. There's nothing necessarily, you know, wrong with that, but, you know, I think it's different when you're a line officer as opposed to when you are an administrator, because, you know, a line officer has a scheduled shift, is, you know, there, you know, based on a regular tour of duty that he's assigned. You know, the chief of police in any given town could be called to the scene of an emergency at any given moment. So I'd like to find out if there is a situation taking place in the town of Fishkill and in the village of Millbrook at the same time. How will those be responded to? I'd like some more information, and based on that, it may be appropriate to continue a more specific discussion. I think that discussion, you know, if we're talking about details specific to the chief, that should take place in an executive session. But, you know, I look forward to the chief complying with your request for more information.
He's not complying.
I look forward to him doing so as soon as possible.
All right, so, Mr. Gabbard, can you have a resolution for the next board meeting to confirm that the town of Fishkill police chief vehicle can only be used for town of Fishkill purposes?
Sure.
Even though he's put that in writing to the police commissioner?
Yeah, we're just memorializing it.
Listen, I've been dealing with this guy for 5 years. It's better to get a resolution to get something done properly. I don't want something to happen on the Taconic Parkway, and then he says there's no resolution, and nothing happens to him. So,
It's
next up is privilege of the floor.
unnecessary rivalry been going on here, but go ahead. Listen, I think,
We're talking executive session.
Okay, but I'm just going to agree with Greg. I think clarification, he brought up some fine points.
And part of what's going on is you ask a question, you can't get it. You get 10 different avenues of why he's not going to tell you this, this, and this. This is very important. He's taking a job as chief of police somewhere else. He's limited to what he can make. There's only two or three things he can do. He should just say what he's doing. This creates the friction. You ask him a question, and heaven forbid you ask him a question, oh, the world is on fire. It's a simple question.
I think we need to recognize a sad reality, which is that the nature of the relationship which you seem to enjoy is not the nature of the relationship which we have endured.
I know. I've seen it.
I always appreciate because it really is, I think, a very well-intentioned thing that you do, and you say, well, I think this could be resolved if you just pick up a phone. But the difference is that when you pick up a phone, your call is answered. When you ask a question, you get information. That's not the way that this relationship has, to my observation, and bear in mind that I have been involved in the administration of this town a couple of years longer than you have. I have never observed that having been the case. I think it's great that you have a much more friendly and productive relationship, but it is still very troubling to me that relationship can exist with certain members of this board and not with others, including the chief executive of the town.
So just to, go ahead, John.
I have asked for police commission meetings with the police chief and the four of us back in January, when there was nothing going on, just to have a steady flow of communication and, maybe follow up on this, follow up on that. Hey, can you do this? Fall on deaf ears.
Not true, John.
Nobody wants to meet.
Not true, John.
So here we are.
Not true, John.
Yeah, I said
we
it
had
then
a
and I'll
meeting?
say it now. Set it up.
We had a meeting?
Hold on a second. This is not even 2 months ago. I said, let's set it up, let's get it done. And then the chief sent out an email saying if there's no police business here, he's not showing up to the town board meeting. I made that offer. Are you listening to what I'm saying? If there's no police business here, he's not going to show up. He didn't show up. I made that overture.
There was another email also when you said you weren't going to meet with them in executive.
So I just want to go.
Things going on here.
Councilman Rye mentioned this. He watches the meetings. The October of 2023 meeting. The chief's behavior, which Councilman Rye admitted was disrespectful. Any full-time accredited agency would never tolerate that behavior, period.
Okay.
The chief of police came here and lied to the citizens of Fishkill, saying his police department was being defunded. There was no defunding. Chief Dworkin lied to the citizens of Fishkill on TV. If this was a real police department, I highly doubt he'd be sitting in that seat today. So there's a chain of command. We all have a chain of command. Here, the chain of command is the chief, the town board, and then the citizens of Fishkill. My chain of command is the citizens, the town board, and then everybody below us. We got a major problem. This guy, allegedly, you mentioned it many times, Councilman, he works 50 hours a week. Now he's down to 20. What's going to happen? We're going to need more lieutenants, more sergeants? How's this going to impact us? There's no way we're 5 years into the accreditation process. You're supposed to renew it every 5 years. We've had body cameras. The chief of police, in October of that year also, last year, said I didn't do my job because I dropped the ball to get the $600,000 grant, when he is the only person that has the police codes to get the grant. That's October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. 8 months, and we still don't have the body cameras. 5 years, we don't have police accreditation. And in October, he came here and lied to the citizens of Fishkill that we were defunding the police. Come on, guys. He's not loyal to the citizens of Fishkill. He's already going to Millbrook. We need to make a change. He's a holdover chief, by the way. It was a 2-2 vote not to let him stay the entire year. So we'll go in executive session and discuss it more, unless you want to talk more out here. That's up to you.
Well, you may have taken it a little further than we should have, you know. but
Everything I
since-
said is on TV,
But
is
since-
public, so.
And I get that. I just, you know, my question is, look, I came on the board 2.5 years ago. All I did was, picked up the phone and began talking to people in all departments, which is what I do all the time anyway. Now, Greg, you have had an invitation to meet with the command staff. I don't know if you've been able to do that or have done that, but I know that the door is open.
Yes.
I'm not here to speak on his behalf. All I know is what I have done when I've come here, which is speak to all departments, have a communication with all departments. I think that how it broke down between you and him is something that I still feel can be worked out, because he is our chief, and all these other issues that we're talking about now, I know can be worked out. Everything can with a peaceful conversation, and I certainly have recommended that time and time again. And, as far as all the things that you're saying, I know that I've seen emails in the past with you and him on body cameras and accreditation, and that is rolling along, and they do have a constant wave of shortages, like every other police department around the country, but certainly in Dutchess County and New York. And so there are times when they have more of a staff than not. And so these waves unfortunately get in the way of this type of thing. I do know that, I would like for everything to be perfect. I would like for you two to have a conversation. I would like for you two to have a civil thing, as opposed to the outburst that you've had right now, you and I have had. And we have had that, and we have not been productive when we have had that.
I think we should go into executive session.
Okay, so.
And discuss how we should hire a new police chief.
I
That's what
think
we should do.
I think that we need to go, see how you're setting it up in front of everyone else. You set it up as if your position is 100% correct, and I have an opposing view to that. So we're going to
You think
go.
one person could be police chief in 2 areas?
You
think the top police officer in the town of Fishkill, when his superiors are asking him how he's going to juggle the hours, how he's going to juggle the payroll, and he refuses to answer, and then.
That was one day of emails going back and forth, and you got pissed off, and then you
Of
did
course
a
I got pissed
foil.
off.
I mean, I'm looking at
Ladies
these
and
emails,
gentlemen.
I'm looking at you taking it to the extreme.
Ladies and
I'm going,
gentlemen,
Jesus.
ladies and gentlemen, there's called a thing called a chain of command. It's a chain of command, okay?
You didn't like one email and you blew up.
He would, guys,
I just
Brian,
he works for us.
I know he does. I'm looking
No,
at
you
this.
don't.
I'm talking about, one second, I'm talking about you guys chilling out, and I'm talking about one day, you didn't like an email, and as opposed to him coming back, all of a sudden, it's just blown up, and I can't believe it again, and I'm just thinking, there's got to be a better way. And as far as just getting pissed off and getting rid of a chief that has, a lot of creds all over the place, it can be worked out. It can be.
I think we should start from scratch.
I know that's what you wanted.
And you will have the opportunity to work with me directly and to hire the new chief. And I will put you in as direct liaison, because that's what you like. I got no problem with it.
I like every department.
The town of Fishkill, our police department is very good. The cops ain't doing anything nefarious. There's no graft. It's very, very good. The patrolmen that not come to your house, stop you on a police stop, they're doing what they need to do.
Exactly.
But there's a thing called a chain of command. There's civilian authority, and it's a simple thing. He's a retired police officer from Newcastle. His limit is 35 grand a year. He just took a job in the village of Millbrook for 32,000. So we talk about these emails. I'm just trying to figure out how he's going to make it work. You can't ask him. So last night, I spent 3 hours looking at videos from the village of Millbrook. And I'm shocked at what I see, because what's happening in the village of Millbrook is the village of Millbrook is going to cut their patrol by 20% to make an accommodation for the chief. So that means the cop's going to be on patrol less in the village of Millbrook. So you see these things. You see the sergeant, the officer in charge, talk about they don't have money to fix their police cars. Some of them are almost 20 years old. and you see one councilwoman saying it's not really a good idea to do this. So this is,
But
and
that's
let me
real-
tell you, if I cut,
Why are you commenting on their decision?
Because if I cut
That's
patrol
their
staff,
decision.
if I cut patrol staff by 20% here in the town of Fishkill, there'd be 50 cops at this door, at this podium,
Sure.
hammering me.
Sure.
But you sit silent when it's happening in Millbrook. Come on, guys, it's about
I sit
consistency.
silent because I don't have any jurisdiction in Millbrook.
Nobody's,
And if I can get in.
you know why they don't bitch?
Or not.
Because it's a part-time, we have a I'm going to elaborate very concise in the state of the town when I prepare it.
Yeah.
It's a part-time police department that has grown, okay? And we have great staff.
We have great
And it's working, but a part-time police department starts around, like what they have in Millbrook, 5 officers, 1 sergeant, and 1 chief. That's what they have, 7 guys. That's it. We've grown to almost 50. And it's going to keep getting bigger and bigger. And then when we do a contract, the officers are going to work less because they're going to be paid more, and we need more cops. We need to figure out what we're going to do. And we need a chief of police that's dedicated to the citizens of the town of Fishkill 100% of the time, not 50% in Fishkill, not 50% in Millbrook. That's just unsustainable. Councilman.
Thank you. I think there is a lot to be said for Brian's idea that there needs to be a calm, friendly conversation. So I'm going to be very calm in what I say. But I don't want to say struck, but what is immediately noticeable for me is the extent of patience that's being given towards an individual who reports to this body ignoring requests. Because I can say with certainty that if the New York State Senate Majority Leader sent me an email asking me to explain a particular job function, and I either didn't respond to that, waited 24 hours to respond to that, or explained why I felt that that request from the New York State Senate Majority Leader was inappropriate and why I wasn't going to answer it, I wouldn't be the communications director. I'd be sitting at home in my basement playing guitar at 2 in the afternoon because I'd have gotten fired. That's the reality of a workplace environment. When someone who you report to asks you for information, you provide it. And I'm not going to rehash the entire point that I was saying, but what I would personally appreciate from the supervisor and from Brian is, the supervisor has indicated recently, a couple of months ago, that he would be willing to meet down and sit down, meet, have that conversation. I'd love to see that invitation extended again. And from Brian and John, what I would love to see is that when there is a disagreement, that there would be a little bit more, I don't want to use the word patience, but I would like to use the word loyalty shown towards the other members of this body. Because if you think that when an employee is not responsive to the town supervisor, that the way to encourage that situation to resolve itself is to publicly take sides with the employee, then I'm afraid that you're not familiar with the principles of personnel management. Because that respectfully is not how you manage a staff. When you have individuals reporting to you and establish a precedent of publicly siding with them against your peers, you are establishing a precedent for non-compliance without consequence and insubordination of any magnitude is not acceptable.
Can I just say something, Greg? Of course.
Absolutely.
I think that that was a wonderful dissertation. I think that what I've done, and I will speak for myself, is I've just observed both sides. Let's just say it's both sides. And it's just an unfortunate situation for the town and the citizens. My being on this board is to try to help this town government operate better on behalf of our citizens. And that certainly includes the very important agency of the police department. And I know we all agree with that. I know we all want it running well. I do know, Ozzy, you and I have a little issue with temper. Of late, to say that he's not in compliance, I'm reading the emails and I'm seeing a response you didn't like and then you blowing up. Right there, it could have been, as far as management, Greg, you know, I've had to do this several times with different people throughout town government when they've given me a response and it wasn't what I asked, and I say, well, then I just go back professionally and ask, or go and have a face-to-face. I don't see that in the emails. I see going to the other extreme rather quickly, and that's a style I will never adopt, but I will say, it's whoever is chief now and in the present, I will have a good relationship with and work very hard. And yes, we have a great command staff, and yes, we have people who are dedicated, and yes, we have people that work above and beyond. And we're all proud of our police department. I'm telling you, we have a great police department. We have a great highway department. We have a great staff inside town hall. We're very blessed with very good and dedicated people. It's just my observation before I got elected and now that it can be tamped down. And listen, maybe there's going to be a transition at some particular point. And until that time, yes, Greg, I'm glad you said what you said. Let's just have that meeting. Let's have that calm get together and just work on being together and listen to each side and get it resolved, just so we can move together. That's all. So, you know, he's not going to be chief forever. We're not going to be on this board forever. But we are with this gentleman now, and I'm very, very excited, or not, I will become excited, but I'm very, very interested, and I know we all are, in this just going to a professional. You don't have to like each other, but just make it professional and get together. So yes, Ozzy, let's you and I have a meeting with the chief if you want to do it that way.
What would you think would be accomplished if there was a meeting?
I would. Well, there's a good initial
What would the agenda
take
be?
on it.
What would the agenda be?
You know, I'd be more than happy to sit in there with you and go, listen, we gotta stop whatever's going on for the sake of the town. We just gotta stop.
99% of the issue is he doesn't respond to what I ask him for.
Okay, so there you go. Issue number one, to be discussed.
He is not going to change.
Then you don't like it.
He's just not
But
going to
see,
change.
now that's not going to help, is it?
I'm telling you.
Is that going to help?
All right.
Just in response to Greg, you know, I disagree with, you know, your saying, oh, these guys are taking sides. You know, again, when there was nothing going on, I tried to get not Ozzy and the chief in a room. That's their business. But the commission should be meeting with the chief.
I agree.
Even when there's nothing going on.
I agree.
Okay?
That's
Because
different.
little problems turn into big problems.
That's different.
Completely agree.
And now, you know, there's issues out there
So
that the supervisor has.
I'll take you on that offer procedurally. Next June meeting, we'll invite the chief to explain the accreditation process and when we're going to get these body cameras. We'll invite him to do a presentation on both. You guys okay with that?
I'd love it.
Sure.
That would be great.
Joe? Send an invitation to the chief of police to proceed with accreditation and the body cameras at that meeting.
But you know, those are only two topics.
Well, let's
You
start
know,
with that.
We
Let's-
talk
let's-
about
let's-
police commission, there's 100 things we could be talking
What
about.
else?
Wow. Just look at all the emails that go back and
Ladies
forth.
and gentlemen, I mentioned the staffing. They want more sergeants, more detectives, more people of rank in that place. If you don't go in that direction, there's not going to be a good relationship. You really should have saw the mayor when you watch these videos in Millbrook. It was, like I said, I'm watching basketball back and forth, and the mayor didn't bat an eye. He's not increasing the budget. So and money's going to go to the chief. We're going to improve our stuff, and so what we lose. He didn't say so what. 20% of patrol service. He wasn't even thinking about it. It's just,
I mean, your patrol service is the.
So they made a decision.
They made a
They
decision.
made a decision
That's
to
their
invest
town.
Yes.
in the chief.
yes.
That's
Okay.
the village, that's their
Yes.
business, it's not ours.
Well, no, I don't think that the.
No, it matters.
I don't think that the purpose of the supervisor, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe that your purpose was to criticize the government in Millbrook. I think it was to indicate that if the town of Fishkill were to adopt a similar strategy,
Oh, let's
that there
hypothetically
would
say-
be dire consequences in
If-
terms of.
if I had-
And it wouldn't be.
What would
if I-
happen at these town board meetings,
No,
and
no,
what would
no,
happen
no,
to the
Chase.
residents of this town.
If I hired a full-time chief and it cost $150 a year, and I cut the patrol staff down, this place would be mobbed.
Sure it would be.
It's just a perception, and he would lead the charge. That's the point.
Who would lead the charge?
Who comes to these meetings and comes here and is disrespectful to your town supervisor? Who?
Okay, well, you both share in that.
No, he doesn't get it. There's a chain of command.
I get it.
A general can't
I
tell the
get it.
President of the United States to F you. It just doesn't happen.
I know.
He'd be terminated like that.
I know, and it's a matter of.
If
I get it.
if-
In
if-
fact, I
town of
think
Fishkill, not the
MacArthur would
general.
agree
It
with you
doesn't
on that.
matter.
Ozzy.
So employees can be disrespectful to your elected officials. Is that what you're saying, John?
You
Come on,
guys,
man.
you guys.
He's not
have-
an equal.
You guys.
You think he's an
you
equal.
guys-
You think he's above you guys.
No, that's
Yeah, you
not.
do.
See, you get dramatic, you start going
Not
off.
dramatic.
And all we're doing is
People are
talking about,
watching. All
we're
right, that's
talking
enough.
about trying to bring civility back to your
That's
relationship
enough.
with them, and I don't know that I'm hearing anything but resistance. I mean, come on, you can be the leader. You be the great executive of the town and go, you know what?
I'm a pretty damn
I'm
good
going,
executive of
I'm
the town."
going back to the civil relationship, that's all.
We need-
And it'll happen.
We need to start from
So
scratch.
let's meet.
All right, next up is privilege of the floor
Let's
for
meet.
only agenda items. That's it. Agenda.
Hi, Ann LaGoy. I just wanted to make a comment about the affordable housing. You know, I was canvassing recently for signatures for the upcoming village elections on June 18th. And I spoke to a lot of seniors who have expressed so much concern, and I realize this is in the village, but the village is encompassed by the town. There is so much concern for rising rents that several of them are literally, they had boxes in their apartments and are preparing to move out of Fishkill because they can't afford to live here.
Leanne, last meeting, we talked about that 10% cap, right? A part of our housing thing, the 10% that the governor just
Yes, we
passed?
did.
For apartments and stuff.
We're
Yeah.
working on that.
Which is great.
We're
which is
working on accessory buildings, so a senior that lives in Fishkill has a house, they can rent down their basement or whatever, and they can survive. You know, the town board is acting on this stuff.
Good, because we need more affordable housing. I mean, I was found like 41 was what it was reported that the village, so hopefully the
But
town
hardly-
will be
no
building
one-
on
No one else
that.
has anything.
Don't argue with me, Ozzy, I'm not looking.
I'm sorry, Ann.
Okay, there's a little residual.
I got you. I apologize.
Assertiveness. So it is concerning to hear developers are offered the chance to buy back units. I personally, you know, there's a reason we have an affordable housing, and, you know, I've been up here multiple times speaking in favor of affordable and senior housing, and it's not even, it's workforce housing. So these are people who are working within our community that can now afford to live here and stay here, kids that are growing up and moving out. So I would like to see, if not the elimination of developers to buy back their ability to buy back those units. I mean, why do we have affordable housing? Why do we have that set up if we can just say, oh, you don't feel like doing your 10 units? Nah, just give us money.
Can we update the town code to eliminate that provision?
I would like to eliminate it too.
As would I, especially because it's.
Look at that.
I never understood that.
Come on, Mr. Gaba.
Give me a chance, I'll tell you. No, the provision in the code, yes, of course, can be eliminated if that's what the board wants to do. The buyback provision is discretionary with the town board. They don't have a right to buy back any units. They can come to the town board and ask if they can purchase them back. And the purpose of that provision in the code is that sometimes you'll wind up with an affordable unit in property which, for whatever reason, just can't be rented out. There just are no takers for it.
Can we,
And,
can we update the provision where it has to be a supermajority to allow it to happen?
yeah,
Like a
you can
4-1 vote?
eliminate it, you can make it a supermajority, do whatever you want with it as far as that goes.
What do you think, guys? 4-1 vote to let it happen?
I mean, sure, I don't understand why we would sell them anyway, but I mean, you say that there are those situations when they can't be
I think we had one.
no takers, but we don't have, I don't think we have that in Fishkill.
No, you did. You had,
We
you
did?
had one, when I first started here, one development came and they'd had property on the market just for ages and ages, and I don't know if it was the location or what it was, but they wanted to buy back one of the affordable units. I think they only had one in it, might have been two. And that was their pitch. It's like, we can't sell it. And that was the provision, the reason the provision was,
Well-
or so I read it.
Well,
put it
may
in.
I ask a question about that?
Yeah,
When it sold back, did they sell the unit?
I don't believe that the board approved it. It was
Oh,
just
I
they
see.
came and asked.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and I mean,
thank you.
how much monitoring do we do when it comes to that nuance right there? I mean, are they really trying to sell it or rent it? So I don't know. It's
Well,
just,
again, it's discretionary if the board
Sure.
wants. Now, you could be concerned about who's going to sit in those chairs in the future and say, we don't want to allow people to do this. And it's
This
a
is,
perfectly
like you said
legitimate
earlier,
thing to
like
do.
you said earlier, Brian, we're not gonna be here forever. If there's something that you wanna do.
no, I think it should be a supermajority. Whatever we can do to hang on to them
Yeah.
is a great thing.
I'm inclined to agree on that.
Mr. Gaba, add that to the list. Simple amendment for any affordable, excluding what I have going on with Toll Brothers right now. That's,
Well, that would
we
be
have,
grandfathered at this point, wouldn't it?
I wanna make sure I don't,
Pending requests, is that what we're
Yeah.
going to do? Is it a pending request?
effective 2025.
Effective, okay, I can do that.
Whenever
Okay.
you're ready, at your convenience. Okay. Anybody else want to speak? Okay, Kenya.
For this part is me, Kenya Gadsden. So I do have questions about the housing situation. When I was on the board, we discussed affordable housing, and one of the questions I had is, where is this affordable housing actually advertised in these units that are built and then they're put aside? And so that question just never was answered. And so I think if people know that there is affordable housing outside of looking at the regular basic stuff, then who do they go to? If Christian is saying to actually oversee that, he needs additional salary, is he advertising it? Are they coming to him to say, where is this affordable housing that's inside this new project that's happening? Because it was never answered. So-
That's a good question.
So that is,
Can
you know.
can you add that provision to the, to add proper notice, certain things that we need to do to advertise it?
Well, the town runs the affordable housing.
Right, where is it advertised?
Well, you could advertise it online.
They're not rentals, they're ownership. So there's a list of people who applied for it, and if a unit comes up available, someone wants to sell it, then we start going through the list and see if one of the people.
So, when I was on the board, there was, I think somebody had it, I don't know if it was, I forgot where it was at, but there was like 4 units there. When I asked, like, how do you access these 4 units? How would I know as a citizen in Fishkill that this particular project, Toll Brothers project, has 4 affordable units? You're saying what to me? It's brand new, so how would I know?
Well, what I'm saying is that we have people who applied to purchase the units.
How? How do I know? If I'm looking for a house, I look online, I go to whoever's selling houses, right? So how do I know that this particular project is going to produce affordable housing and I should get myself on that track to be, to obtain one of those units? How do I do that?
Christian, I don't want to interrupt, but would it be possible for you to come and join Kenya at the podium?
Like I'm confused because, again, I don't like the buyback thing. I don't like that at all. I think that it takes away housing, and this town unfortunately has done it for so many years that there's a lack of it, right? And so now there's this big crisis, and I know the crisis because I deal with the people who are having housing issues. People who even have vouchers can't afford to live in Beacon because their voucher does not cover their housing. So now what they're doing is they're gerrymandering them
to Poughkeepsie. And so they can afford their voucher in Poughkeepsie still by going underwater. So if Fishkill has these housing, access, how do you get it? How do you?
Christian, is there a page on the town website for the affordable housing?
There is a page on the town website, it's in the town code. But again, I think we're looking at apples and oranges. If you have a housing voucher, that's not gonna help you with this
No,
program.
I didn't say house, that was two different things. I
Right.
said housing voucher. I'm talking about,
So-
you have units in a new build, right?
Well,
And
if developer builds the units, that like the code says,
Yes.
then they become part of the program. We find people who have already applied.
How do you
So-
find them? How
So
do
they
you get
usually,
on that list?
they find us, they come to me, they apply, we put them on the list.
Okay,
And
so
then we,
you're,
and then we go down, as people apply, we go down the list when a unit comes available, and, if you're next on the list and you want the unit, then it's yours to purchase if you want.
How do you get on the list, Christian?
You come and apply.
so you
So you have to physically come into town hall?
You can mail it in if you want, you don't have to physically come in.
There's
You have
an
to bring in
application online?
application. Yes, application online. You have to bring in your application with all of your income to prove that you qualify.
Is there a
So
way
it's
that we
not for
can
everybody.
make
You have-
that process more visible to the public?
We could get it more on the website if we wanted to, but if you want to move it to the front page. or-
Christian, if somebody applies for the first time, we'll say, do you send them, and let's assume they have all their information in order, do you send them, here are 18 units that are available?
Well, no, because we don't have any units available.
No, he's saying if,
So-
like, if you had this, he's making that
So I'm
number.
saying, if a unit was available and we had no buyer for it and someone came in, I would tell them there's one available right now if you're the next on the list. So, but right now,
How do you know that there's a list to get put on?
That's what I'm
So-
saying. This is all a secret here.
Yeah.
I tried to reveal this years ago.
I think the big broader point that could be grasped here is that there are probably more people who would be eligible for this program than there are people who know about it. So
Right.
what can we do as a town to increase public awareness of programs like this so that
Right.
people who are interested can apply? Because especially given the current housing and just general economic environment that we're in right now, I'm sure a lot of people would be interested. And having a better sense of exactly how many people might benefit from the program might give us a sense of exactly how big an affordable housing deficit we're looking at.
right. So,
And
if people want to come and apply, they're more than welcome to.
But the
So,
problem
but
is,
I
what
don't
you're
know-
saying is, how do we even know that someone can apply on the list? That's what Kenya's trying to
Right.
say.
And what are the,
Propose that this should be in a town
That's what
e-gov.
it is. Am I correct?
Yes,
Just come to you and say, I want to get on the affordable housing
I've been
list.
running the program. If you think you qualify for affordable housing, apply.
E-gov.
Prove to me you
Contact
qualify, you'll be put on the
Yeah.
list, and we have to wait for you to come available.
So,
So-
Christian,
His memo to
question.
the town board.
If we start doing a better job of being more visible with this, you're going to get maybe applicants from outside the town. How do you screen to make sure, it's only a residency requirement, correct? You can
No,
only,
anyone can buy the
oh,
unit.
anybody can?
Right.
Oh,
Once
okay,
you buy the unit, you have to live in it.
okay.
It's not, this is
Right.
not a
Rent
rent,
it out.
right, this is
Oh, I
not a rental
understand.
thing, this is not
Okay.
a second house thing, this is your primary residence.
I don't know why I was thinking it
So-
was residency.
Do we check these residents? Do we do an inventory? Do we knock on their door? Do you knock on their door to see if the right person's living there, or is subletting it or anything like that?
No, I don't do that. If I heard from someone that they wouldn't, I would have to obviously contact them and see what's going on.
And you have a list of these
So-
41 townhomes already?
41, yes.
You have them? You have a list with their name, their phone number, and all that other stuff?
I have their applications with their phone numbers, I know their mailing addresses, I know who they are.
Mr.
So-
Gavin, do we have a right as a town to confirm who's there?
Well, you can't,
Is that intrusive?
you can contact them and ask, let's leave it at that. You can contact them and ask.
I don't know. So when I lived in the Mitchell-Lama in Co-op City, right? When we moved into the Mitchell-Lama, we had to buy our apartment and all this other stuff. But what they made us do is take a picture. My husband, myself, they took pictures of my children. They kept that on file. In the event they got word that someone else was coming in and out of the apartment, they would take those photos to the apartment and literally knock on your door and find out if you are the resident in there. And that's Mitchell-Lama. So I don't know the entire Mitchell-Lama law. I did read the packet or whatever have you, because I wanted to understand like the whole process, even though we moved in when my son was is still in my belly. So when he came out of my belly, I had to photo my son. You understand me? And so that paperwork then went over to Co-op City, and that's a Mitchell Llama. So Mitchell Llama to me, again, is you have to have a certain amount of income to live there. As your income exceeds the limit, then you are forced to either pay 10% of your salary or you could leave.
So Christian, what is the enforcement mechanism? Let's say the person meets the standard 3 years ago, they inherit $10 million. Do they have to vacate?
They do not.
They can just stay there?
You
So
have to qualify, at the time of application, you have to qualify.
then after that, they
At
can
the
make
at the
as,
time of purchase, you have to qualify.
then after that, they can make
If
as
you win
much
the
money?
lottery, then that's your good luck, and we don't have any mechanism in the law for doing that.
See, this is
And
the-
Is
that's-
that,
this
is
is the part I don't
that,
like.
is that something that we could do,
But
is?
That is the
They own it.
pitfall of it being an
Oh,
ownership
see,
program as opposed to a
see,
rental program.
but they own it, so there's no
Right. If
cash
it's a
for them
rental
to go.
program, you could then tell them,
Right.
your income no longer qualifies you, and you now need to
Right.
vacate, but they own this property.
And I'm
So
assuming, Mr. Gaba, that's also the reason why an enforcement mechanism is difficult in that we can call them and ask, but it's different than, for instance, when
When you're in a
the
metropolitan.
entire building is owned and overseen by the housing authority, where they sort of have, a contractual right of entry to inspect the premises. It's different when,
apples
at the
and
end of the
oranges.
day, once the unit is sold, it's private property.
Right, but they still have to live there.
Right.
And you could confirm that they live there. How far you can go in doing that?
Yeah, at what point do we get sued for intrusiveness or invasion?
No, we don't have to go that far. We're not gonna send the cops to get the door.
No, I know, but, I mean, but this is all good stuff, because I'm glad that you, and I'm glad that Ann said what she said, because this is very good stuff, so.
Yeah, well, this is, the governor finished their budget, housing stuff, we're working on it. We waited till that was done, so. And the idea is, the grant writer or whatever,
Yeah.
that person could be part of this other, looking into this too. So
Right.
Christian, would you be willing to work with the supervisor and Joe on an e-gov message, perhaps, to increase public notice?
just send me an application,
Yeah.
how I can do it in PDF form, and we can share it with the residents.
Okay, I believe
Okay.
there's one in the packet, but I will get you one if you, another one if you like.
You know,
A fresh one would be great.
So, yeah, no problem.
Thanks, Christian.
Cool.
Right, so I just wanna say, like, my unit, my house is what my husband and I could afford, right? And so there are people who are struggling. One of my friends resided in the apartment complex up the street from me, and last year, her rent went up $700 a month. And then this year, her rent went up again, $700 a month. So her husband has a very good job, she has a very good job, they have 3 children, excelling well, and here they are faced with an increase of another $700 per month. So when you're looking at affordable housing, all of us may differ, we may vary in what we have and what we don't have, but if we continue down this pathway, we're gonna have more people trying to figure it out that have great jobs. Some of us are privileged enough to have housing that we can afford and live happily ever after, and there are people who are struggling. So I was confused sitting in that seat over there as to how you gain access to these affordable housing. I don't know, some things from the audience is, are we carrying them over there? I don't understand. I think that informing people, making it plain, and giving them the ability to access it is much better than it being hidden somewhere in Christian's office. And now I learned today, years later, that all you gotta do is go to Christian and fill out an application. Had I not asked the question, I would not even know this. And so I think we have to learn and grow together with one another and be able to try to figure out this epidemic, I think, that's happening in the housing world. And so they call it a housing crisis. I'm calling it an epidemic that is failing us seriously, because working class people can't afford to live where they're living because of circumstance. That's me, Kenya. So I'm back again as Louise Daniele. And so what she writes here is, since the agenda packet discussion page did not have much information on it regarding the chief's new job, I had to do some research on my own to find out some facts. So thankfully, the village of Millbrook is transparent and records their meetings as we do. So I went back and I watched a few recent meetings. Apparently, this process and interviews have been going on for months, from March to noticing a special meetings for 416 and 417, and at 6 p.m. for finalists, and another executive session on 424, and finally hiring Chief Dorkin and swearing him in on May 8th with a starting date of June 1st. I'd like to know if he gave any references from his current employer, which is our town and the board that he takes direction from. Their meetings are public records, so anyone can watch. The Village of Millbrook is entitled to do or hire whomever they want. But when you watch and listen to their meetings, you will hear that a trustee did not believe it was a good idea to hire a part-time chief for $30,000 at $40 an hour for 15 hours a week, because she felt it took away from the police budget and they actually would be cutting back on the hours of police officers' patrol time, describing it by 24% with no other agency covering that time. She stated she doesn't support paying a part-time police chief with deep cuts to the police budget and other parts of the police, instead of focusing on recruitment and retention. In her opinion, hiring Chief Dorkin would defund the police budget and take away road patrol, according to the words of a village trustee at a meeting. In addition, an officer in charge who believed he was a sergeant, in quotes, in parentheses, the title was debatable, but he was getting demoted from what he was doing and sent to the road. He also wasn't receiving a raise when everyone else was, yet there seems to be an opening for a sergeant for $35 an hour. For myself, this is Ms. Daniele, I believe this is just another example of the chief feeling he is entitled to do as he wants, and that should not happen. Thank you for your time, for both of us.
Thank you. Mr. Gabb, I just want to circle back on this affordable housing thing. Can we talked about the code with the 4-to-1 vote. Can we add something like whenever there is a vacancy, that the town will publish it through its eGov and its website, make it mandated in our town code? Is that too much, or can we add
I don't think you need to do it. The board can do however they want, but if you
Yeah,
want to add it, you can
it's
add
like
it,
the
of course.
resolutions I do with the chief. It's like this future, like Brian said, we're not going to be here forever. You know,
I have
I
another
feel
matter
like
that I need to
if it's-
speak with you
Yeah.
about for the next meeting as far as
Whenever
laws
it's
goes.
good
I'll
to
give
be-
you a call.
We
We can
want to
work
be
out some language.
transparent, but there's no accounting for what people 20 years
In
from
the
now are going to
future.
want to do.
If you want to do it, you can do it.
yeah.
So I'll talk with you, we'll come up with some language for that.
Yeah, it's simple, you know, whatever. All right, next up is consent agenda. I'll make, oh, yes,
I'm sorry.
it's okay.
We read somebody else's notes to get to people challenging. In Louise's opinion, he did not do as he was directed to by the prior board, re a disciplinary matter. He was untruthful with the prior board about the cadet repaying the town for the academy and pay he got for working during training if he left the town PD, which he did. He spoke very, in capital letters, disrespectfully during the last budget meeting to the board, accusing the supervisor of defunding the police when that was untrue, capital letters, flailing the budget in his hand. He just didn't get 3 new police cars that he believed he was entitled to get, which weren't really a necessity. Even Councilmember Rye agreed with Councilmember Totino at the first meeting this year that he had even seen this type of behavior himself from the chief. And now, lastly, he failed to disclose to the police commission and the public that he has been seeking or took another police chief job in the village of Millbrook. He should have disclosed this to the police commission so they could have discussed the impact that it would have on the town NPD. In my opinion, an employee in good standing would not have been so deceitful. Each member of the police commission needs to remember the chief reports to them, and they all work for the citizens of Fishkill. It should be the police commission, not the chief, deciding if they believe his new chief position, in quotes, will not interfere with his abilities to serve the residents of Fishkill as their chief, end quote. If the chief isn't satisfied here, or the board decides to ask the holdover chief to resign, so they can choose someone to wrap up the accreditation camera project and provide necessary oversight that I don't believe occurs in our PD, I think would be beneficial to our town. I don't believe we need a full-time chief, but it is time for change. Thanks again.
Anybody else? Okay. So we took one item out of the consent agenda. I make a motion to accept the consent agenda. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, so we have one resolution then, which is this one right here now?
Yes.
Okay, what was your concern? Because I know some people counties have sued. That's not my intent. My intent is
Well, is it fair discussion?
whatever you want to do. It's a resolution, but I understand some counties are.
There can be a discussion
challenging,
period before we vote.
But it's got nothing to do with it, it's just, if the 3 years doesn't count for us. That was my intent for this resolution. Not to agree with the county or the state or anything like that, is that if it's a 3-year term, it doesn't apply, it doesn't count for term limits. Mr. Gaba, is that correct?
The term limit provisions have nothing to do with the outstanding suit or the change
Yeah.
in state law.
It's not
The
saying
memo
we're against
regarding
it for
even
it.
and odd year elections
But you
does
didn't
explain.
mention that in its whereas.
I apologize.
Yeah, it
That's
wasn't.
not the intent, to say we agree with it or not, the county or the state. It's just saying that if it's a 3-year term, we understand that doesn't count for our term limits.
Okay,
That's the intent.
all right.
Even
Tell
though, even though Mr. Gaba already put that in writing, right?
Well, we're voting to affirm what he said, that is true.
Okay.
Can we amend, do you
What
need
would you like
to
to
amend verbiage in
Yeah,
it
we can
now,
amend
John?
this. What would you like to see in there? We'll just amend it. Just be comfortable. But it's got nothing to do with any litigation. It's just what happens here. If the lawsuit succeeds, this is irrelevant.
Right.
And if it stands, it just says the 3-year term doesn't count.
Want to help me out with this?
Well, what is the concern? I'd be
Well,
happy to help you with language, I just don't know. what-
Resolution, it's the subject, resolution accepting a memorandum regarding New York State's change for even year elections. That's the subject. Now,
The attachment.
Ozzy acknowledges the fact that, a couple of us probably don't like the
Yes.
even year, odd year thing that's going on, and there is litigation going on. But the intent, from what the supervisor's telling me, is it's just to confirm, people who are running in a 3-year term, like in 2025, if this law sticks,
Yeah, that's correct.
it's not going to be considered part of a full, just what we talked about.
Right.
But, I mean, that's not what,
So, Mr. Gaba, this memorandum does not in and of itself support or contradict or counter-argue the merits of the New York State law to change elections from odd to
Just
even
says what
years.
it says.
It simply
Yeah.
indicates how that law, if it remains in effect, will apply given the town's term limit law.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
nothing for
Thank you.
support or against, nothing to do with it,
Yeah.
just for us.
All right.
That's good?
Yep.
I gotta read it. A resolution accepting memorandum regarding New York State's change to even election year. Whereas the state of New York has enacted an amendment to town law 80 under which the elections will be held in even years. And whereas the town attorney has prepared an annex memorandum of the town board setting forth the method of transitioning into even year elections and its implications for the town of Fishkill. Now therefore be resolved that the town board hereby accepts said memorandum and directs a copy be kept at the file of the town clerk as a reference in holding town elections in 2025 and 2027. Present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. What are we at now? I have no items for special consideration, new and old business. Brian, you want to mention your grant thing?
Yes, I'm actually working on something else, which I'll
Okay.
keep under wraps for now until I get it more finalized, but, I'm gonna do as much research as I can and try to come up and see what we can do with this money to get a grant writer, and, listen, if I didn't buy my house, when I bought my house in 2001, I couldn't afford my house today. So my heart is with so many people out there, and especially with my son, which I'm going to make this announcement. My son's wife and grandchild finally got clearance to come from Colombia to the United States, so they'll be here in 3 months. Thank you. They'll be here in 3 months, and so that's going to be a whole house full of people in a small house, and they have to find a place, and we're already like, I don't know how this is going to happen. So my heart is in this, and I look forward to seeing what we can do to help.
I got 4 kids, 22, 20, 17, and 13. I doubt any of them are going to be able to afford to live in Fishkill. This is how bad this is. It's a serious problem. And we're going to talk about my position paper about downstate that the board, hopefully we agree with. It's going to have some provisions about trying to keep local residents here. So I'll talk about that after John and Greg go through this.
Okay, one, the grass needs to be cut in front of Downstate on Red Schoolhouse Road. I don't know, do we contact somebody at the state?
I will contact the superintendent of Fishkill, he's usually pretty good with that
Okay.
stuff.
Just a reminder, 2 weeks from tonight, Wednesday, May 29th at 6 o'clock, we are going to have the Hometown Heroes special event.
Right.
And the public invited to that?
Everybody's invited.
Yeah.
It's gonna be jam-packed, so,
Get here early. 6 PM,
yes.
What day again? Because I want to make sure.
2 weeks from tonight, Wednesday, May 29th.
Okay, I know I've got it.
And just, go ahead,
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
I got it.
And just a reminder, June, July, and August, we are going to be meeting once per month.
Correct. Go.
I would just like to ask, do we have the details for the town's Memorial Day observance?
I understand from Virgil.
Yes.
Because his committee is, the veterans are handling the whole thing and arrange the whole thing, that they're ready to go. And that should start at 11. And then, good question, Greg, and then
1 o'clock parade in the village.
1 o'clock parade in the village.
Wonderful.
And
That's always
so,
a great occasion.
the vets got that under control, and I'm very happy for them.
Excellent. And speaking of the vets, I know that we were copied on an email from Virgil regarding the Hometown Heroes. It appears that 2 of the...
That was corrected.
That was corrected?
It's taken care of.
Good, good. I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure because I know for a fact that I had assisted those individuals prior
Yeah.
to my leaving the supervisor's office last year.
Yeah.
And I was hoping that we could confirm that that's been... That is fantastic, excellent.
Yeah.
Because if it hadn't been handled yet, I would have expedited that after the meeting ends and gotten that
Yeah,
stuff
very
that was
good.
needed.
No, Joe's on it, Carmine is on it, I mean, and,
Excellent.
so, thank God. Yeah, we didn't want to have that happen. They're
Yeah, big
great.
tip of the cap to the highway department for getting those hung up.
Yeah.
Doing that in-house, really good work. They look great on the road. And it's wonderful to be able to drive on a whole bunch of roads in the town of Fishkill and see the patriotism of our town on display.
My final comment is, school budget vote is on Tuesday, May 21st.
Right.
Excellent.
Hey, Ozzy?
Yeah.
For the veterans thing that's happening on the 29th here, are there any volunteers needed for that to help organize it or set it up? Or
We start at 6.
I'd be more than happy to volunteer.
My wife is gonna bring the cake and cookies. We're gonna get some balloons and some flags. Show up around 5-ish,
Yeah, okay, okay.
all right?
I think
There's
I'll end
anybody
up
else out
getting
there that
around
wants to
5:30
participate?
just because of the train schedule.
Yeah.
Okay.
The biggest thing we might have a problem is gonna be, we've got about 119 people. If that's times 2, it's gonna be a lot of people here, so we're gonna have to like kind of organize who gets in here, because we're gonna name the people that are gonna come up to the podium, and so we
Right.
might need some traffic control.
You just,
some air conditioning in here too.
I'm here to serve.
Okay. Mr. Gabb, I got a good question. We talked, if I go on vacation and something needs to be signed, like a voucher, can I pass, how can I get somebody else to do it if I'm not here? Is that possible? First of all, is that possible?
Yeah, it's possible. You name a, what do they call it, vice supervisor? I think it's a-
Deputy
Deputy
supervisor?
supervisor, that's it. And
So
if you're
basically,
not
the only thing you really can't do in town hall, you could be anywhere in the world, but you gotta sign these vouchers to keep going.
Right.
I could just authorize the deputy supervisor to sign the
available,
vouchers?
you have to be unavailable. You have to literally be out of state. It can't just be you left the town and you can
Gotcha.
come back and do
Understood.
it. But I mean, if you're on vacation in Colombia or something like that, then sure. Or if you were ill, the deputy supervisor could sign in your place.
Do I have to do a town board resolution for that?
Yeah, you appoint them. You don't need, they
No,
don't.
no, no, I have a deputy supervisor. Do I have to do a resolution to allow him to sign the vouchers?
No, it's part of they can do anything you can, well, within reason.
Within
that you
reason.
can do when you're unavailable, but you have to be legitimately unavailable.
Perfect, perfect, okay. All right, so we've had a problem trying to get a controller. The staff has been working their tails off, making up the difference. I'd like to propose a $2,000 bonus to each of the employees working back there. We probably saved about $35,000 without the full-time controller here.
I
Would you
understand
guys-
they're
would
under
you
great
guys-
stress, even,
Great stress.
you know, I would agree with that.
John, you good
How
with
many
that?
people are we talking about?
5, 10 grand.
And Sharon's still helping.
She came in yesterday and today,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's,
I understand.
You okay with that?
Yeah, these are extraordinary circumstances, so.
Can you
I understand
can
that.
you prepare me a resolution for the next meeting for a $2,000 bonus for the controller staff? One time only.
Do you want to list individual names?
I'll get you those names
All
tomorrow.
right, fine.
Who's handling payroll? Is that a stress?
That's Rick, and he's.
Is there nobody else that can be
It's,
hired
it's,
part-time?
we want to try to get a part-time
Yeah,
payroll person.
there's nobody.
We had one when, I think before COVID, we had one.
Yeah, she left.
She left.
Yeah.
And that was sort of taken on by full-time staff after that.
But you can feel the stress level in that office. And, they've been
I
doing an
understand.
outstanding job, and
Yeah.
like I said, even if we give them the 10, we're still saving 25, 30.
Do we ask our HR person to try to advertise for a part-time payroll person?
Yeah,
we Yes.
the resources.
Well, that was for controller. So
Yeah.
we're going to advertise when she gets back on Friday. She'll be back.
For a part-time person? Okay, good.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Okay. So the next town board meeting is when?
June 5th.
June 5th. Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I'm sorry? Oh, I apologize. Shoot. Been working on this for 2 months here. So this is the Town of Fishkill downstate position paper. Everybody knows that downstate closed. The Town of Fishkill is going to try to be ahead of the curve. This is just a draft. We're going to send this out to the residents of Fishkill via our eGov system to ask you what your opinions are. Our numbers could be different by the time we listen to the citizens, and they can go up and down. So this is just fluid, and it can change based on what you guys say. But I'll just give you a little gist of what's going on. Because I want to be prepared. I don't want the state, unlike Texaco, it's owned by a private company, so the town can enforce its zoning laws, and we don't have to change it from industrial to high-density housing, as an example. Downstate is owned by the state of New York. If the town zoning is 1 house per acre, if it was private property, we would be able to control less than 100 homes there. But the state doesn't have to listen to us in this instance. I don't want to put the town in a position where we're not prepared, where the state comes and says, you've offered nothing, we're just going to do this. So this is a basic position paper, which we're going to seek public input this weekend, get to our higher elected officials and get them to sign on to this, and in the July meeting, to vote a resolution and then send it to the governor, what we can do with downstate. So just bear with me, it's in a particular order, but you'll be getting it in an email on Friday. So Town of Fishkill downstate position paper draft. Number 1, the Town of Fishkill is opposed to development of the downstate property by any not-for-profit agencies because it would take the property off the tax rolls. About a decade ago, a not-for-profit purchased about $50 million in real estate in the town, including a large apartment complex. The property was taken off the tax rolls, and the town residents were forced to vacate after their leases expired. Residents of Fishkill saw an significant increase in their taxes due to this purchase. The town does not want a repeat of these events. Number 2, the town believes that downstate property is a perfect location for commercial development. Such use of the property would be an economic driver of the local economy and would be in the best interest of the town. Number 3, if the proposed redevelopment of the downstate property is of mixed use, including residential, the town requests that a third of the residential development preference be given to Fishkill residents, Dutchess residents, and then New York State in that order. If the proposed redevelopment for downstate property is residential, the town prefers 1/3 of the dwelling units to be devoted to senior housing, 1/3 devoted to workforce housing, including veteran housing, and the final third to be devoted to affordable housing. If the number of the housing units is large, the town favors requiring a larger number of senior housing, over 55 senior housing. The town of Fishkill is also facing infrastructure needs, which the state could provide assistance on through the downstate redevelopment project, particularly, 1, the town requests the state build a sewer pipeline on the road leading to downstate and Cherrywood. This would benefit the town and provide sewer for downstate. The pipeline would be connect Dutchess Park Sewer District to a state-of-the-art roundabout sewer plant saving the taxpayers' money. Number 2, the town requests the state expand the water lines in the area of downstate so downstate and the local residents could have clean drinkable water. 3, the town requests that the state work with the Beacon City School District to prepare for an increase in students if residential development is being proposed. 4, currently there is no fire coverage for the downstate property, and in order to provide fire protection, it was likely to be necessary to expand the fire district. If this occurs, funds for the project should be earmarked for adding new or additional fire apparatus to the fire district. Then finally, regardless of whether downstate properties redeveloped commercially or residentially, or as a mixed use of the two, a redevelopment will impose a greater need for police services on the town. Accordingly, the town requests that funds for the project should include a current contribution or additional equipment for the town of Fishkill Police Department.
And personnel.
And personnel.
Yeah.
Like I said, this is a draft. We've been working on this for quite a while. We're going to send it out to EGov. If you guys have any ideas, remarks, good or bad, let's hear it. And once we get that, by the end of next Friday, I'll clean this up and send it to our elected officials above us, get them to sign on to it, get a resolution to prepare it in the July meeting, and this way we can send it to the governor, and this way the town of Fishkill have an official position on this, and no one can say we weren't prepared for the state coming in and taking over the place. Everybody good with this?
I think it's very, very important.
Thank you.
I know that we have, you and I have gone back and forth in covering RFPs that have come out a couple of different times, and rumors of who else is coming in that may want to put in tons of units, and so, I mean, hopefully this has an effect, but I mean, it's, you know, it's something that we should be doing, and I'm glad you're taking a point on that.
Okay, make a motion to adjourn. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for watching, guys. Thanks, guys.
So there's no,